Good morning. I don't have my ears on. No hearing aids, no headset. So it's just you and me. I had an odd thought this morning. Kind of odd thoughts how one morphed into another. And I understand that going from one extreme to another extreme. And in this case, my initial thought was how it's over. That there's no women to defend anymore. That the women in the country today are so pissed off. But then I had to look and realize men are pissed off. Men are pissed off. And so it's like these men today are saying they won't fight for a woman. They won't leave and go fight for a woman. I think a lot of men today won't even defend a woman. I know that I will withhold any sort of defense of any woman today because I think the women have destroyed our society. But I think we can save it. And my advice to you ladies is bake. Bake apple pies. Bake cookies. Bake. Baking therapy, if you will. And I know you're going to say, my God, Dr. Kent wants to keep us in the kitchen. Oh, geez. Next thing you want is he'll want to take away our shoes. I used to joke and I used to say when I grew up I wanted to be a Ferengi. Oh, it's kind of a funny thing if you think about the Ferengi of Star Trek because they wouldn't give their women clothes or shoes. Oh, heavens no. Their women were purely and entirely sex objects and kind of slaves to them. I got news for you today. Buddy, you and I live in a matriarchy. We don't live in a patriarchy anymore. This society morphed into a matriarchy, and because of that, it's slated for destruction like all matriarchies have been destroyed in the past. Pretty much. You need to understand that women do not give us civilization. They do not give us culture. They only give us birth. You got that? They give us life. They're the bringers of life. And because of that, they're different. Way different. So ladies, I've been trying to get you to subscribe to the channel. Because we need you aboard. But I'm going to tell you right now, my last supervisor as a psychologist when I was getting trained in Tupelo, Mississippi, used to assign clients, female clients, baking cookies for someone. Making chocolate chip cookies of all things. So why do you make chocolate chip cookies? Because when you're baking somebody chocolate chip cookies, you can't get angry with them. Think about that. Now, I think that's going to apply to an apple pie too. I would love to smell apple pies coming from the houses, walking down the streets. Actually, I'd love it if somebody was kind enough to offer me a piece of hot apple pie right out of the oven that they just baked themselves. I mean, that would be such an act of love, of kindness. Now, I do think that women have sharper senses than we men do. You got more nerve strength. You got better eye-hand coordination. And you also got better color vision. I mean, no one matches up colors better than a woman does. A man can't do it. I remember when I was younger, I had trouble with blues and purples. They thought I was a depressed child because I couldn't tell the difference between blue and purple when I was drawing my skies when I was in kindergarten. Oh, hell, it was a mild color blindness. And my favorite color was green-blue. Yeah, that was the color that I really liked. I had a sweater that I remember dearly now. It was green-blue. It was beautiful. Kind of a multicolored fabric, if you will. I think one of my grandnephews ended up with that sweater. I gave them a bunch of sweaters one time. Ladies, I really am going to advocate for baking therapy. Yes, it puts you in the kitchen. It heats your kitchen up too, and in these days with energy being expensive, That's not a bad way to get some warmth into your house. And then the aroma, that might be helpful to you too. And especially if you can't be angry. And you're angry. Your anger's off the charts. The sad thing today is I'm looking at the men. The men are getting angry too. Their anger's off the charts. Now, am I going to advocate men bake chocolate chip cookies and bread and apple pie? Hell yeah, why not? I mean, I think rather than buying it at the store, that we need to fill our kitchens and our homes with those smells, those wonderful smells from childhood. When Mom was baking fresh chocolate chip cookies and you couldn't wait for them to come out of the oven because you knew you were going to get some of them warm, and they were so tasty when they were still warm. Oh, and Mom wouldn't let you touch them because they're too hot still, and you couldn't wait to get a hold of them, and Mom was right. You'd burn your mouth, especially in a hot chocolate chip. Oh, Lord. The cost of bread's too much. Chocolate chip cookies are up there as well. So let's go back to baking. Let's fill our kitchens, our houses, our lives with wonderful smells of childhood. Smells of childhood. Just imagine. Just imagine the smell of chocolate chip cookies. Oh my God. Mom, it was so wonderful when you made that. Oh. I was thinking I should entitle this Goodbye Mom and Apple Pie. We used to fight for Mom and Apple Pie. That was used to motivate us. Now I got to fess up. The psychologists that were manipulating us, that's what they were doing. It was a little bit of jingoism. You got to go fight for Mom and for apple pie. And I know my mom liked to put slices of cheese on pie. It's like putting a slice of cheese on hamburger. It don't belong there. I don't give a damn what you say. You actually don't digest them very well. You're better off eating them separately. But cheese on apple pie is a little nicer. Ice cream, vanilla ice cream on apple pie. Now that's a treat. Oh, I'm getting hungry. But I'm cooking breakfast. I'm trying to not chug down so much chocolate, but it is therapeutic. It is antidepressant. It does have some good qualities about it that are they help you think. They help you keep your mood going. They help regulate you. It's natural antidepressant. It's healthy for you to get a good quality chocolate, not this crap that comes out of the factories with all the plastics in it. And I miss my Aunt Goldie because nobody could make chocolate treats like she could. And sadly, I guess she probably felt a little rejected. I couldn't eat all that stuff she shipped to me. I wasn't a child anymore. I was an adult. Probably been pre-diabetic for quite a while. I mean, I've been lucky. I haven't suffered from that yet. Ladies, I want you to subscribe to the channel. I want you to share this stuff. I want you to take some of the insights. You need to understand something. You've been misled. You've been deceived. And sadly, you've become deceivers. Imagine this. 1 out of every 3 of us, and that includes you ladies, don't know who your father is. That's right. 30% of children born in America are fathered by a man other than their fathers. And now we can test for it. In a lot of states, paternal testing is illegal unless ordered by a court. What? We're free people. You mean I can't go in and get a paternal test? I can't order it up on a child a woman claims is mine without a judge's order? That's tyranny. That is a matriarchy. You're required to turn the other cheek when a woman strikes you. Oh, she can't hurt you. She'll kill your ass, but she can't hurt you. And women have much better hand-eye coordination. Never in my life, which has been a long one, have I taken out a woman and taught her how to shoot. And she didn't shoot better than I did. Better. my own guns. Better hand-eye coordination. It's inherent. And women have greater nerve strength. According to Siri Singh Sahib Yogi Bhajan, women have 16 times the nerve strength. And my grandmother, who was born in the century before last, not in the last century, but in the century before last, born before 1900. There was a lot more disease then. And people died from it. She said men couldn't stomach illness very well. Only the women could stomach the illness and take care of the sick. We men couldn't do it. We lost our cookies. We lost it. You see, the secret is men are more sensitive than women are. Men are weaker than women are. Men care more than women do. Men are nicer than women are, especially in a matriarchy. Remember the old stories of the Amazonians, the Amazons? They really existed. They weren't in the Amazon in South America, by the way. That didn't even exist at the time of the Amazons. The tall, big female hunter athletes were in Asia, what you call Asia Minor today. That's right, they were in Asia Minor. They preceded the Hittites. The Hittite females are descendants of the Amazons. Come on, folks. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to put this stuff together. It just takes a little common sense and logic and thinking. You don't think. Men think. Women plot. Sociopaths plot perpetually, all the time. They're several steps ahead of you and I, planning the evil for us. Yeah, they're their own species. They don't have a connection with their vagus nerve. The vagus nerve to the gut is severed. It's not a proper connection. So they don't have the feedback from the enteric nervous system, from the brain, from the heart. The heart in the Bible was that. That was your heart. It was down in your intestines. It was gut sense, gut knowledge. It was intuition. A very well-formed connection, the vagus nerve. Something happens to a sociopath when they're developing and they don't develop. I'm convinced that sociopathy is not genetic. It is born. However, there is a type of sociopath that is genetic, and that is from those who mated with the Anunnaki, those today who we would call the Ammonites, who were related to the Amalekites. Yeah, I'm talking Bible stuff here. That's what I'm about. I read the Bible. I love it. Of course, I got reduced to just reading the Bible pretty much. It's how I made my great recovery from my strokes in 2006. I had a fantastic mind. I used to do advanced statistics and calculus in my head without paper and pencil. I'd sit in a room and I'd estimate the damn dimensions of it, and using calculus, and don't ask me how I did it, I can't remember. I'd tell you the standing wave that was in that room. I would tell you the frequency, the tone, the pitch that room was tuned to. But you don't know what you have. We don't know what we have until we lose it. And when you get older, you lose things. You give things up. Whether you like it or not, the natural deterioration of aging, the regression, the loss of facilities, the loss of abilities, the loss of that amazing cortex and personality, which you busted your ass and your parents busted your ass too to develop, by the way, you lose that. And all it takes is a simple infarct, as they call it. What's an infarct? Sounds like a fart, right? Well, it's kind of like a fart in the brain. An infarct is a piece of your brain that goes bad. That's right. When you stroke, you lose pieces of your brain. And this cortex God gave you and me has more inhibitory connections than excitatory connections. And I'll tell you a little secret they don't want you to know. Different species of human have different ratios of inhibitory and excitatory connections. Black brothers out there need to be aware of that. That's what you work on to get a hold of yourself, to master yourself, to civilize yourself, to make something of yourself. Some of you have done quite well. But there's still a binomial curve when it comes to Negroes. There's still an upper peak and a lower peak. In other words, there's two different peaks of intelligence when it comes to the Negro species. There ain't one Negro species either, folks. There's several of them. I know, makes me super racist. Now I'm going to tell you a little secret. None of us knows what we are. None of us knows how much Cro-Magnon DNA we have. Oh, have you checked your level of Neanderthal DNA? How about Denison DNA? How about Dragon Man DNA? Yeah, there was a Dragon Man. Yeah, about 80,000 years ago, there was Dragon Man, like you and me, but with a thicker skull, tougher to kill, tough son of a bitch with a thicker skull, so he could survive better and tolerate a blow to the head better. I don't have anybody to cook me up chocolate chip cookies, to bake me bread, to bake me a pie. I don't have anybody to do that anymore. I don't know if I can do it in this rig. It might be deficient or defective in that department. Can I do that in a convection oven? Probably, if I put my mind to it. Yeah, I think that's going to be one of my goals. Sometime this year I want to bake myself an apple pie. The problem is that you really have to practice that stuff. It takes talent. You have to spend time in the kitchen. And a lady today doesn't want to spend time in the kitchen because that's frickin' demeaning. The fact you can bake something wonderful and make a man's heart warm. Make your children's heart warm. Or remind your husband and remind yourself of what it was like to be a little girl or a little boy again. What's wrong with that? Now that's kind of a nice regression, isn't it? I mean, to be able to smell those smells from the kitchen when Mom was baking. We used to gather around the kitchen. We ended up talking in the kitchens. The kitchen was like more of a living room to us than a living room was. A living room was a place you didn't mess up. Oh yeah, we'd go there and we'd watch television in the evenings. We'd get our daily dose of propaganda. It was all propaganda. And why was television invented? Well, you go talk to those German scientists, because I think you need to find out why they invented the television. It's not what you think. Do you think? How aware are you? How alive are you? Ladies, look at the men. Look at how hurt they are. Look at how love-starved they are. Just stroke him a little bit. Throw him a bone. He's pretty happy. My God, you bake some fresh apple pie, or you bake him cookies. And remember, as the brightest of the psychologists who trained me, and there were actually several of them, there were probably, I don't know, there's more than a half a dozen that trained me up. You see, I was a little different, had a bit of a reputation, and they wanted to make sure I turned out right, so and they also wanted to make some money off me, so they kept me working as an intern a little longer than what they kept most people. but my training was deeper and better. I was trained at a much higher level than the other psychological son of a bitch. As a result, I became quite good. So good they wouldn't let me have a license. Well, you have to understand they're a bunch of libtards. Forgive me, I'm about to cuss again. I know you've been praying for me so I don't cuss so much. But the lib-fucking tards have taken over this country and the planet. It's subtle. And they are anti-human. They are going to destroy us. And my eggs are boiling. I gotta get to breakfast. Forgive me for leaving you at this moment. I'm on a bit of a rant. I want ladies to subscribe to my channel because we need you aboard. Why? You bring a different perspective. I like strong women. It's kind of the irony of it. I like a strong woman. Man, I've been seeing some of these women from the South. Love the accents. And they're out there noodling, fishing with their limbs, with their hands and their arms. Stuff I won't do. I ain't got to put my hand in no damn fish's mouth and catch it that way. And they like playing in the mud. And they're like their pappies. They like hunting and fishing and hanging out with the men. Yeah, they're kind of tomboys, if you will, but I got news for you. Some of them are really feminine. Really feminine. And when one of them warms up to you, you got something. Man, you really got something. Wish I was a young man. I'd go after one of those women from the Carolinas. It's where I learned how to talk. Can't you tell? No, you can't. But my grandmother was appalled when we went back up home to Yankee Land. And she said, oh my God, my grandchildren can't be talking with a southern drawl. Well, I outgrew that. I miss my grandmothers, both of them, dearly. Used to sit for hours with one of them in particular. She was college educated. Yeah, the one that was born in the century before the last one had a college degree. I miss her. And when asked the question, if you could have lunch with anyone today, who would it be? My paternal grandmother. Yeah. She was a very smart woman, and she was careful with me. She took care of me. She was kind to me. I wish she'd have been a little kinder to her own son, my Uncle Roy. That was one of the things that got to him and ate at him when he got older. He was off his rocker. They had kidnapped him. They treated him horribly. They went after his millions of dollars. And don't ask me how many millions. Yeah, I'd like to know. I'm curious, but I don't care. You can't spend that much money in a lifetime. And they targeted us because of it. I don't know that the woman that targeted him actually ever loved him. I think she was merely open for business. I rather doubt that she ever loved my uncle at this point, especially the way she berated him, especially the way she abused him. Remember, we live in a matriarchy, and she dominated. And at the end, her own children put her in the old folks' home against their will, prematurely. And they died prematurely, in my opinion. They could have lived longer. I was ready to go back. I offered to take care of them. That's what we did. I was not able to take care of my parents. My brother and my sister had already chased me out of Alaska because they wanted all that inheritance to themselves anyway. And they maligned me with the parents, especially my sister, but my brother did too. He was a big backstabber. What a suck-up son of a bitch he turned out to be. Anyway, I'm the black sheep of the family, and I'm the nicest one. I'm the only sane one in the family. And I have the luxury. My mother told me in the last conversation we had just a couple months before she passed. She told me I'm the nicest man she knew. She didn't treat me very well in childhood. Didn't regard me very highly in adulthood. My mother had serious issues. Again, a matriarchy. At some point it flipped, and that generation that my mother was part of became dominant and took this country over. And as a result, America is in her demise. And as America's already gone. We've already been conquered by an enemy within. Not so much a female enemy, but a sociopathic enemy that has used the women against us and continues to use the women grandly to destroy their own homes, to deny their very natures, to go against life itself. How sad is it in America? And by the way, ladies, that ritual of child sacrifice you practice causes cancer. We're not supposed to talk about that. Yahweh bless. It's number 173. I'll have to check. Maybe it's 174.